Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and today we have to take a look at the NHL's trade bait board going into the March 21st, 2022 NHL Trade Deadline. Guys, that talk is already beginning around the NHL, so we have some rumors to get into today. And, again, as of today, December 16th, we are exactly 3 months away from the NHL trade deadline. So things are coming up pretty quick on us here. So let's get right into it. So we have a list of 20 players here, and I'll show you guys that list. We're not going to go over every single name, but we're going to go over some of the more interesting names that we've heard a lot about, and maybe even some of the names we haven't heard much about. So to start off, we're going to take a look at the New York Rangers number 18, Vitali Kravtsov. Vitali Kravtsov has been a name we haven't really heard much about recently, but we know that he is not coming back to the Rangers. Chris Drury has made it quite clear to Kravtsov he is not welcome to come back to the New York Rangers organization. He's done this with a couple of players already. So what he did to Tony DeAngelo, potential Norris candidate this year, and what he may be getting himself into here with Vitali Kravtsov. Now, there is some similarities here to what I've seen from the New York Islanders' perspective. Josh Ho-Sang, very similar situation. We don't know all the details, so I don't know how similar they completely are, but we're seeing the same sort of thing coming about. And I've already talked about it, 19, Tarasenko. No need to go over that. We've talked about that plenty over the past year. So I figured we'd just skip that one. But Vitali Kravtsov at 18, I thought was definitely something we should talk about, because this is a guy that probably not coming back to the States. He's currently playing in Europe or Russia. He won't be coming back until he has been traded elsewhere. At number 16, we're looking at Rickard Rakell. Now, maybe this is my little bit of a Ducks bias, but the Anaheim Ducks have a really solid guy here. They have a guy that can play wing, hasn't played center recently, but he can play center, and his price tag is exorbitantly high. Rickard Rakell, I believe, is on the final year of his contract with the Anaheim Ducks. I'll put all that information in here for you guys. But Rickard Rakell would be a great add to any team looking to try and win a Stanley Cup. And I think Rickard Rakell would be just fine with that. He's been a great playoff performer when the Ducks were making the Stanley Cup playoffs on a consistent basis. I think he would be a nice player. But again, with the way the Ducks are playing right now, I don't see how the management there is going to say, we're going to lessen our standard and lower the price on this guy. If anything, it's probably gone higher, because Rickard Rakell could kind of be their own guy that they end up keeping, because they figure, well, we have him anyway. We'll use him as our own rental, because the Ducks right now are very close to a wild card spot, if not in a wild card spot every other day. The Ducks are right on the brink there, and I don't think they're going to be quick to making that sort of move. That sounds like if it were to happen, it would be a trade deadline on March 16th trade move. That would be like the day of that deal would get made. Okay, so at number 13 is the New York Rangers goalie Alexander Georgiev. He's actually done pretty well in the absence of Igor Shesterkin, which makes you wonder, what is the vibe from the Rangers? Well, from what I've been hearing, they're quite comfortable keeping Keith Kinkaid, or who's the other kid, Adam Huska, who have been playing with the Hartford Wolfpack. Now, Keith Kinkaid, we saw a little bit of action from him last season with the goaltending injuries. He is the third goalie. I believe it's Matt Huska. Matt Huska came in, played a couple of games, came up to the NHL this year. So the Rangers would have to decide still between one of those two, but they don't necessarily need Georgiev. Not to mention, he has not had the best, really the last 2 seasons with the Rangers. He has not been that great, and it's no discredit to him, but he just hasn't been up to the standard for the New York Rangers in between the pipes. So you wonder if a team would be willing to take a waiver on him. I could see the Buffalo Sabres being a team that goes after Alexander Georgiev, because long term they could probably get something done there, and would also help out with UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who could definitely use at the very least, a veteran backup. Not to say that Georgiev, still in his mid to late 20s, is a veteran goaltender, but there's still some promise there, and that's a guy who could kind of build along in a pretty nice tandem there and kind of replace what they lost in Linus Ullmark. Again, not the same as Linus Ullmark. You get what I'm saying here. definitely an upgrade over Arundel or Craig Anderson behind UPL. And I think that is definitely something we'll start to hear about again. We've heard those rumors in the past. Okay, at number 10 is the Vancouver Canucks' JT Miller. We've heard a lot about JT Miller really over the past couple of weeks because of some stuff in the locker room. There seems to be a locker room disconnect and some separation of the locker room in Vancouver. Now, maybe that has kind of been put on hold. In current times, the Canucks are on a 5-game winning streak at the recording of this video. So maybe they decide, you know what, maybe we'll keep him around. And I do want to mention, I believe in the video I made about the Canucks a couple days ago, I said that he is a pending UFA this year. That is not the case. He is going to be a free agent in the summer of 2023, which means he still has another full NHL season. So if the Canucks were to trade him, they could probably get a pretty nice haul for JT Miller in a trade. Looking at number 9, I thought this was interesting. Joonas Korpisalo in Columbus. Joonas Korpisalo has kind of fallen to the wayside because of Elvis Merzlikins. Merzlikins has taken the role as the number 1 guy in CBJ, and it kind of looks like Korpisalo is on his way out of Columbus. Now, they were both pending UFAs going into this year. They locked up Merzlikins, and Korpisalo kind of seems like he's on his last legs. Now, there's plenty of teams that would definitely be interested in Korpisalo. Like I mentioned, the Buffalo Sabres could be in the mix. I could see them more going after him in free agency this summer if he's available. The Sabres will probably take a goalie instead of trading away draft picks at the deadline. But Korpisalo will definitely get some interest there. As a deadline addition, I wouldn't be surprised if the Edmonton Oilers made a big push for a guy like Joonas Korpisalo, who at this point is probably the best regarded goaltender on this list. Again, you could argue Georgiev, but I would say Joonas Korpisalo is still the guy I would rather have. If the prices were the exact same, I'd rather have him. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how that kind of plays out. Again, and then for the Blue Jackets, they have to decide, well, who's going to be our third goaltender then if we do get rid of Korpisalo? That's all the conversations that are going to have to go on in CBJ if they decide to make that move. And depending on where they sit in the playoff format, again, they are not that far from a wild card spot. Maybe they hold off on that trade. Again, kind of like Ricardo Raquel, they wait till the trade deadline or the day prior to make that sort of move where they have time to make up their mind and enough of the season to see where they really sit. At number 6, Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel, the right winger from the Arizona Coyotes, has always been thrown in the trade rumor chatter. And this is a guy that has played a lot of NHL hockey, a lot of experience. There have been some questions about him. I think he's a great guy from what I've heard from people. But there's still always that attachment with Phil Kessel. You know, is he going to be a consistent goal scorer? Is he going to be motivated? These are the kind of questions that you're asking with Kessel. And if there's enough check marks that you say, all right, this kid's pretty good and he'll be a good player for our team here. Again, his contract ends this summer. He would be a rental, but I'm sure plenty of teams would be interested in Phil Kessel. Hence, potentially the New York Rangers, maybe even the Boston Bruins, looking to add some depth up there in Beantown. I think there will be plenty of suitors for Kessel at this point. His value is less, and in a market that seemingly doesn't have a ton of players up there yet, he may be a guy that goes for maybe a little more than he's actually worth. But again, we still have a long time to decide where they really are. At number 5 is Anton Khudobin. He just got placed on waivers the other day. He is not the best goalie option available here, but he's the one we've been hearing the most about. He was placed on waivers. From what I've been hearing from a couple of sources, they're saying out there that the Dallas Stars will probably have to add a draft pick or a prospect with Anton Khudobin to move out his contract. He still has 2 years left at over $4 million per season. He's going to be a tough one to move. His contract ends in the summer of 2023. There's going to be a lot of change in Dallas over the next 2 years. Ben Bishop's contract will end then, and Anton Khudobin. That will be almost $10 million of cap space that the Dallas Stars will have freed up just from their goaltending. So that's something to keep an eye on. At number 3, we're going to look at all of the top 3 guys. At number 3, we have Dylan Strome of the Blackhawks. There really hasn't been much attention toward Dylan Strome. Not a lot of people have been really asking about him. And we know the Blackhawks are selling. They seem to be a team that's already committed to that. But again, they might wait till closer to the deadline. But again, in a deal here with Strome, this has been a long, running divorce that you're kind of waiting to get the papers done on. And it's kind of that situation here with Dylan Strome. So I think if there's anybody that's interested, I think the Blackhawks would make that deal. Probably going to end up being a 4th, maybe a 5th round draft pick at the very most. And I just don't think he has the value that he had back in the day. Again, this is a former top 10 draft pick we're talking about. Maybe top 3. I think he was the 3rd or 5th overall pick in his draft class. Things have definitely gone sideways for Dylan Strome since then. So, kind of rough to see that. Now, at number 2 here, Jake DeBrusk. We've heard everything about Jake DeBrusk up in Boston, as the Bruins have not really wanted him in the lineup. It seems like he doesn't want to be in the Bruins lineup. He doesn't see himself in the future plans in Boston. So a trade request was requested from Jake DeBrusk not that long ago. It kind of sounds like things have kind of continued to go in the wrong direction there. I don't see that really working out long term. So again, the Rangers have been in the mix. The Oilers have been in the mix. All those teams that need forwards, middle 6, top 6 forwards, Jake DeBrusk could fill some of those voids. And then at number 1, pretty obviously, it's Evander Kane of the San Jose Sharks. This is a guy that's been all over the place over the past really year now. And listen, I have my thoughts on it, and I'm sure most people probably wouldn't agree with me, though. Evander Kane has had a lot of stuff going on in San Jose. The best thing for him would be to get out of San Jose, get out of California for that matter, get out of the media, get away from his ex-wife, get away from that and start new. I think that's going to be the key for Evander Kane. Now, the problem is teams are not going to want to invest in Evander Kane at his $7 million cap hit per season because, let's be honest, he's not the most reliable person here in terms of his off-ice things, and teams don't want that distraction. Other teams have probably asked about Evander Kane, wanting to know about the locker room and stuff like that, and they probably haven't gotten the best vibes from that. That's probably why you're seeing Evander Kane still on the board. You probably will still see him on the board, probably until he gets bought out this summer. So that is it for today's video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, more videos just like this one, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.